Welcome to episode 19 of Believe in TCU as part of the Believe Network. I'm Zion Trammell here with Seth Dowdle, and today we've got a special guest. He is the lead college basketball writer for TCU Horned Frogs on SI, and he hosts Frog Fever for the website as well. Please welcome Nick Girimonte. Nick, thanks for joining us today. How are you
No,
doing?
thanks for having me, guys. I mean, obviously, I love TCU basketball, so I'm just stoked to be able to talk about it, and I can't get enough of it right now for sure.
Yeah, you're very popular on TCU Twitter, especially I feel like I see your tweets all the time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into writing about college basketball?
Yeah, so I grew up in California. My dad went to St. Mary's, actually. So my favorite thing growing up was going to St. Mary's games in the Bay Area. I know Zion, you're from the Bay Area. Shout out.
Yes,
So yeah,
sir.
that had always been my favorite sport, and then I definitely wanted to go to a college that had that D1 sport atmosphere. And TCU basketball wasn't really, when I came in 2021, we weren't really on the map for basketball. But these past few years have just been electric for TCU basketball, and I'm a journalism minor, so I started writing for Killer Frogs a couple of years ago. Just kind of wanted to get my foot in the door, and then naturally, I just knew I wanted to cover college basketball. That's always been the biggest passion of mine. So being able to just go to games, yeah, I try to be as interactive on X as possible. But yeah, it's just been a blast, and this is definitely what I love to do.
Now, St. Mary's question.
Shoot,
Do they gotta get out of the WCC, man? They gotta get out of there.
dude, I wish they could. So when all the realignments, I won't get too much on St. Mary's, but when the realignment stuff happened with the Pac-12, where Gonzaga gets bids, and then you get all these random schools getting bids, I would love to think that St. Mary's would have a good enough resume, but I think it just comes down to resources. So they might. It saddens me to see all the Gonzaga leave and the level of competition go down, but they might just be the team in like the horrible conference that just kind of makes the tournament every year out of being the only team left. So it's sad to see for sure, but they definitely got to find a way to get out of there.
Gotta get St. Mary's a football team, and maybe that'll bribe
Dude,
the Pac-12.
I'm telling you, bring it back. Bring it back. Get
St.
the
Mary's
boosters
football
going.
would be elite. Yeah, that would be fun to watch for
For
sure.
sure.
Yeah, I've been to a couple St. Mary's games before. They're both times they were electric and a lot of fun, and definitely the best place to watch college hoops in the Bay Area for sure.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. No, if
uh,
anybody hadn't it's a hidden gem out there for real. That that's all they care about out of St.
mhm.
Mary's, and it's the only real big or college basketball environment out in the Bay Area. So if anybody's got a chance to get out to one of those games, it's a special spot for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. But we're gonna talk about TCU women's and men's basketball today. I figure we start with women's basketball because yesterday they picked up one of their biggest wins in program history, winning 76-73 over 13th ranked NC State. It was a just a remarkable game. Nick, you were there. You were on the scene. Just talk about the atmosphere a little bit. What your takeaways from this game?
Yeah, it was unreal. I don't think it can be said short that it really was one of the biggest wins in TCU women's basketball program history. This team is so exciting to watch. Like they've been blowing out the lesser competition early on, and this was the big test with number 13 NC State coming in. And NC State was a team that made the Final Four last year, so they had high expectations, and TCU had to rise to them, and they did. I don't even think they necessarily had their best shooting performance. Like Madison Connor could have had a better game, or Haley Van Lith even struggled shooting. But what Sedona Prince, her performance yesterday was one of the best performances you'll see in women's college basketball all year. I believe she had 31 and 16, playing all 40 minutes for the first time in her career. I mean, if you go up and down with this TCU roster, they're stacked with not just names but talented players too. We've seen Madison Connor go crazy. We've seen HVL is the biggest athlete on TCU's campus right now. Sedona Prince is one of the best bigs in the nation. Then you have Donovan Hunter, Taylor Bigby, and not to mention Matty Shear is a top transfer from Kentucky that hasn't even seen the floor yet. So I just think the atmosphere was amazing at the Shoal yesterday, and I just think for anybody who wanted to come out and see this team, they're exciting. And I don't even think you can put a ceiling on what this team can accomplish right now because they have some of the top talent in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to go, unfortunately, but got to watch a little bit of it, and it's been a while since I can remember going onto cable television and seeing a TCU women's basketball game. I usually you got to scour the internet to find those things, but just to go to channel ESPN and just turn it on and just to see like an actual like crowd there was pretty amazing. Like the football team, they were highlighting the football team was there. They were going nuts. Uh, and then we were watching the game and you're like, man, they're really backing it up. Like this hype that they have, because it could have been, this could have gone away where, they win their first couple of games, against these cupcake teams, they're really talented on paper. And then you come out and you play like an actual basketball team and they kind of fall flat on their face. But they didn't. Like every time NC State, who's a really good team, and as you said, Nick, Final Four team, made plenty of counter punches. TCU had an answer every single time. And late in that game, when NC State was making that run to try and come back, TCU was able to answer and was able to hold on and respond. And I thought that was really impressive because they could have fallen flat on their face in this spot. This was a big spot. The nation was watching. I mean, everyone was watching this. No one was watching Bears Packers, which was also on this at this window. But yeah, it was. This is. I mean, to say that the women's team is more like important to this campus right now than the men's, I think is probably true, which is crazy.
Yeah, a lot of big names, right? I mean, and I think the attendance numbers are only going to increase as we get closer to Big 12 play and some of these big matchups coming up. Yeah, it's definitely it's probably the biggest story on campus right now.
For
Just a tremendous performance. I mean, the pick and roll with Sedona Prince and Haley Van Lith is absolutely lethal. And I thought it was really cool yesterday. We saw on social media how emotional Haley Van Lith got. If she got the double double, I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. Was that a career high in assists?
It was, and I've had some troubles with Haley Van Lith career highs, but I think I got this one down.
Okay, I would like to address that really quick. Look, I saw it on social media. People were like, "Oh, what is this guy like?" Look, and you can, you can back yourself up here, you can defend yourself, but it was on the media sheet it said that her career high was what, 34, 35 minutes. So
Yeah,
one would assume that that is correct, but it wasn't. So,
yeah, no, that was a funny thing for people that don't know. So her first career game at TCU I was covering, and I'm new to women's college basketball. Just to put that out there. So like I obviously knew Haley Van Lith was a stud and one of the best players in the country, but I mean, you just like she was on a stacked LSU team, and I knew at Louisville she went crazy, so I should have known. But on the stat sheet, it said 34 minutes. So I asked her a question about her conditioning and being able to play career high in minutes, which is what I thought it was. And she proved me wrong right on the spot, rightfully so, that I was wrong. And next thing I know, it's the clips going viral on social media, and I'm getting dragged with the articles left and right. But hand up, that's on me. Won't happen again. Yeah, I got to double check my notes from here on out. But that was definitely a funny situation that definitely got me in the news when I didn't think it was going to be.
I can't like the news cycle must have been really drab for that to become news.
Yeah,
yeah.
Student reporter makes minor mistake, corrected by
yeah.
athlete, bombshell.
No,
Yeah.
it was a fun couple days for sure. Just reading the comments and seeing what actual people are writing about me. Like I don't know. It was my first time kind of being in the I don't even know if I was in the spotlight, but just surrounded by something that I did it was for wrong reasons, but it was definitely a cool experience that I'll try to not replicate again.
Well, I'm glad you have that like optimistic perspective because I was like, I'm reading these comments. I'm like, these people have no idea about my boy Nick, bro. He is one of the best college basketball writers for TCU. This guy
I
works his
appreciate that,
butt
brother.
off, man. Like, what? I was like, these guys have no idea what they're talking about.
I
I
appreciate
would have
that.
been pretty upset, but I'm glad you have that perspective. And it
Yeah, I
was
mean it's all
pretty, it
fun
was
and games at the end of the day.
yeah, I mean, most of those people probably have already forgotten about it, but
Exactly.
it was pretty funny to see all that, and yeah, it was very interesting that got the attention of some media outlets. But
Yeah, it was on. With the moment it happened was on election night too. So you would think like with all
We got
of
other stuff to
that,
talk about, guys.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
of
I
all,
guess people care more about that, but
yeah,
no, definitely interesting for sure.
You were their
yeah,
form of escapism.
I
yeah,
was. I'm
yeah,
glad to be. I'll make mistakes during any very controversial climate next time it happens.
yeah. Man, that was wild. But anyways, back to the women's basketball team. I think honestly, just it was just really good to see them get this win to prove to everyone that they do belong and that they are a top 25 team in this country, and they have so much experience. And Mark Campbell, just not
Yeah,
enough good things you could say about him. The way that he's been able to transform this program into something that's really legitimate and that could honestly win the Big 12 this season. It's been so much fun to watch, but um, they still have several really competitive non-conference games coming up.
yeah.
With Notre Dame and South Carolina. How do you guys feel about your level of confidence that they can go toe to toe now with some of those teams as well? Seth, why
Yeah,
don't you
I
go
think
first?
it's
Oh yeah, Nick, actually, go ahead. Yeah, go
my
ahead, Nick.
bad. All right. Yeah, I think what you said about Mark Campbell is that it cannot be said how good of a job he's done in the first 2 years. Like TCU women's basketball is bottom of the barrel, not having any success, and then he just pulls out pretty much out of nowhere, just in terms of having such a strong connection with the players, being such a guy that players can trust with his Oregon days, and even at Sac State. But him scheduling these games, like scheduling a home and home with NC State, scheduling Notre Dame, scheduling South Carolina, like he's not scared of anybody, and I think he knows how talented this team can be. So I think with the win against NC State, and you're not even fully healthy yet, like I legitimately believe that this TCU team can compete with anybody in the country, and I'm just super excited to see how what this ride's going to be because you look at this roster too, and similar to the men's, which we can touch on, but it's brand new. Like these players haven't even played with each other yet. The fact that Sedona and Haley have this connection this early in the season is so impressive that you wonder what they're going to look like come March.
Yeah, I think my blueprint for this is kind of like last year. The team was also entirely new, and they went out to a 14-0 start. Now, albeit that was like against
Yeah.
a cupcake schedule, but still they were able to gel pretty easily. And that's the same with this team, at least in the early going, right?
Yeah.
And so you expect if early returns are correct that that's going to continue. Um, but yeah, I mean, usually whenever I see all these like coaches that do like these miracle jobs, mostly like in football, I guess, like you look at, you know, Kurt Signetti right now at Indiana or stuff like that, where like they make like this
Yeah.
miracle run. I mean, Sunny
Sonny
Dykes did it too,
Dykes.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
It never has happened to like the teams I root for, and now it's happened twice, and I'm very I'm very happy about it. Like
Yeah.
it never happens. Like the Cowboys would suck, and then they'd bring in Mike McCarthy, and they'd go like 5-7 the first year or whatever, or five, and I'd be like, well, that's growing pains. But it's fun when there's not growing pains. It's fun whenever you just win, and that's I think what Mark Campbell brings to the table. Um, And hopefully, I don't know, Notre Dame and South Carolina. I don't know. After beating NC State, I expect to split that at least. I
Yeah.
don't know where the win comes. Hopefully against South Carolina. That'd be fun.
Man, could you imagine if
Yeah.
TCU can knock off the reigning champs,
At
South
Dickies
Carolina?
too.
Yeah, at Dickies Arena. Yeah, that should be a really, really fun game. I'm so excited for that. Just the idea that you get to go up against, a powerhouse team like, oh, little TCU like us. Like I know we're gonna be ranked and whatnot, but it still feels cool that we get to go up against a team that's been in the national spotlight for the last couple years. And I think bringing in Haley Van Lith and bringing in such a veteran group is gonna help them a lot against some of these top teams. They're not going to be phased. They played a lot of college basketball before. They've seen it all, so it's really going to help. And um, they're going all in on this season, right? I mean, this it's an all transfer um, starting five, and they're all in on this season. And I think that if they can stay healthy, this team can go really far and make a run in March. Just so much versatility, and I think yesterday they, like you mentioned early on, Nick, they didn't even Madison Connor didn't even shoot great from three. She
Yeah.
was 2 for 8. Haley Van Lith was 1 for 7. There's still room for this team to grow. We know how great they are from beyond the arc. If they can start knocking down their threes more consistently, you know, with how much they're going to dominate in the paint with Sedona Prince, man, that's going to be a dangerous combination to have. The 3-point shooting, and with rim protection, and you're going to win the rebound battle most of the time. They have all the pieces to go out there and win whatever game. Every single game they're going to have a good shot.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter today too an interesting question. I think it's from my friend Colin Post, who used to cover the Frogs and Go Here. How do you think Haley Van Lith is the biggest TCU? Like, where do you rank Haley Van Lith on biggest TCU athletes of all time in terms of like notoriety?
That's tough because usually I feel like TCU athletes gain their notoriety once they leave.
I agree. Yeah.
Right? LaDainian Tomlinson was good here, but he didn't really become the star until he became an NFL player. Same with Andy Dalton. So it's probably pretty high in terms of while they're here.
Yeah.
Right? Especially coming in immediately. It's very rare that a TCU athlete comes here and first they have to do something to become the star. She's here and she's the big deal. So it's probably pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, honestly, yeah, at least in the top 2 or 3, maybe even number 1, honestly. I mean, my jaw dropped when I saw that she was coming to TCU. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Like this is happening. Like we just got Haley Van Lith." Um and it's not even just, how popular she is, and you know, clearly anything that she says can go viral based off what we've already seen.
Yeah.
um you
I know
know
that one.
yeah, she has a popularity on social media and just in the college basketball world, but she's also just a terrific player. I mean, I think we all know that already, but she just brings a level of competitiveness and leadership that TCU needed. And I think she's going to be the player that gets this team over the top. I mean, we saw her again with 10 assists. She's just done a great job of taking the reins of this team and saying, okay, we have the potential, but I can help take this team to the next level. So it's been so much fun to watch. I've really enjoyed watching TCU women's basketball. This week they'll take on Incarnate Word on Thursday at noon. That's an interesting tip-off
Trap
time.
game.
Yeah. I can't
It's
go to that
field
game.
trip
It's
day.
the first miss of the year for me, which sucks. I hate that it's at noon.
Yeah, that is a very it's
Oh, that's probably the game they do every year where they invite all the elementary school kids and it's really loud
yes,
and
field
annoying.
It is the kids'
it
game.
says it's field trip
Yeah.
day. So
Yeah,
that'll be
avoid that game
interesting.
at all costs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
in the
gonna be
post-game
wild.
presser, Sedona and Haley were like, they told him it was the kids' game, and they were like, "Oh my god, it's gonna be a trap game for sure." Seth is exactly how you put it with the kids in there.
You don't know that atmosphere is going to be crazy.
You don't know what they're gonna be throwing on the court. You don't know what they're gonna be saying. So TCU is playing against Incarnate Word and the kids on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of cool yesterday. The broadcast mentioned it a couple times. Like the students, were throwing off some of the NC State players with the countdown of the shot clock, saying, it's 3, 2, 1 when there's still 8 seconds left, and they put up a
Yeah,
bad shot. I mean,
Can't believe I didn't think that worked. Here's the thing, that shouldn't work.
yeah,
We
it
all should know
shouldn't.
better.
You should look up and be able to see the shot clock, but you never know. For a team that's been to that went to the final four last season and has dealt with much larger audience or crowds than it was yesterday.
exactly.
But I guess it worked, and it
Shout
just
out to
shows
Scholl.
yeah, the home court advantage is really it's real, and it can really play a factor, especially as we get into conference play. So yes, show up for TCU women's basketball. This team
Yeah,
is legit, and they're going to be a lot of fun to watch this season. So now we'll pivot to men's basketball, which
let's do it.
unfortunately it was a tough loss on, was it Friday? Yes, Friday they lost 76-64 to Michigan. It was their first true road game of non-conference this season, and I can't remember the last time they've had like a real road game in non-conference.
Yeah,
It's probably
1990.
been a while.
I think is the earliest true road game in the non-conference since 1998. So they really haven't
Wow.
challenged themselves like this in a while.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Here's the thing. We always
it's
talk
been
about these
it's been a
Jamie
while.
Dixon take non-con schedules. Maybe that's just a TCU thing.
Might be.
Yeah,
It might be.
yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like a Big 12 thing in general, or like a power conference thing, where the rankings right now are skewed to where this rewards you, like beating up on bad teams. Build your net higher than a loss to a quality or a close loss to a quality team. It's just kind of how it is right now. So I think we see a lot of teams doing this, and it's not necessarily fun, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Uh, so it was a 12-point loss at the hands of the Michigan Wolverines. Tough game for sure. Nick, what were kind of your takeaways from this game? Are there any concerns at all? What were your takeaways from this game?
Yeah, I think the concerns are kind of alarming because it's been consistent with what the concerns of TCU have been for the past few years, which has been half court offense and free throw shooting, which is, people talk about it all the time around TCU basketball, but it is a real thing. I mean, they're shooting under 60% from free throw shooting on the year. And it was evident against Michigan. Like the defense against Michigan should have been fine enough to win. Like they forced 21 Michigan turnovers, which is exactly what they want to do in fast break to get out in that early transition, which is obviously known for what Jamie Dixon teams want to be with TCU. But yeah, it's just the same alarming things where you can't execute sets, you can't get the penetration you want from the guards to be able to free open shots on offense. I think the notable thing specifically in the Michigan game was the fact that Ernest Ude was out, so such close to game time, which obviously was a harmful, a tough blow for the Frogs, such close to the game. But to be honest, I thought David Punch and Malik Diallo, two true freshmen, really stepped up well. And I don't necessarily even think that was the biggest. It would obviously played a factor because Ernest Ude is one of the most valuable players on this team. But I don't think that was necessarily why they lost. I think you need more from the guards. Jamie Dixon talked about through this whole offseason how he expects the guards to be kind of the backbone of this team, and how Frankie Collins and Noah Reynolds have emerged as leaders. Vashawn Alette is expected to be that spark plug off the bench. But when you get 7 points from Frankie, you get 3 points from Noah, and you get 6 points from Vashawn, that's just not enough to be able to win a quality game. So you need better performances from them, specifically in the half court.
I mean, yeah, it's the same stuff, which is kind of infuriating. I wish that they had different problems every year. I wish, because that would make the conversation a little bit more fun, at the very least. Zion and I, Nick, we looked at the career free throw shooting numbers for the transfers in this season, because we were
Yeah.
like, maybe the solution is just to recruit players that shoot free throw, or like just get transfers that shoot free throws well. And then we looked at the numbers, and it's like, oh, Frankie Collins is not a good career free throw shooter, and Noah Reynolds is pretty good. And then the others, like, it's just a lot of players that aren't good. And then they come here, and it's like, well, we're clearly not good at teaching them to be better at free throws. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really know, because like it's like one of those things where you play a tougher game, and this is going to be good, I think, for them though going forward, because at least they kind of have like a set bar of like, okay, this is what we need to work on, because I feel like there was like some false confidence that has been built for TCU men's basketball in years previous, given that the schedule is so easy. Now that they have like a little bit of like, okay, this was a real team on the road, and it's a pretty good environment. This is what we need to work on, especially given that the first slew of conference games are going to be a gauntlet.
It's going to be very difficult for sure. And it just, this conference is wild. And yeah, they did not do us. They did us dirty with like that first few weeks of Big 12 play, with the back to back, like having Baylor and then Kansas back to, like, come on, are we, what is this? But
yeah, at least give us like a Cincinnati in there. Goodness.
yeah, give us something a little bit,
Hey, Cincinnati's tough this year.
I know, and that's the thing. It doesn't matter who you play. It's like you look at all these teams, and you're like, oh, that team was pretty good in the Big East a while back.
Yeah.
No, the mind-blowing thing about the Big 12 this year is that, like, it just keeps getting better and better. You add Arizona. Arizona State's off to an amazing start. Cincinnati and Tech have taken a big leap. All 16 teams in the Big 12 are top 100 in Ken Palm. Like, Oklahoma State's the worst team, and they're 92. So every single game against in the Big 12 is going to be quad 1 or the rare quad 2 when you play, maybe an Oklahoma State or a West Virginia at home. So when you get into conference, there's no, real, like, it's just gauntlet the whole time. So I think when you look at TCU and this loss against Michigan, I don't know if it's like, I don't think it's panic mode, because you expected to lose this game, especially with an Ernest Uday. And I think there's team has such more to grow. Like, I do believe that Frankie Collins and Noah Reynolds and Rashawn Ouellette are big upgrades from the guards they had last year. In the freshman class of Micah Robinson and Punch specifically have shown flashes that they can give you big minutes, and they're only going to get better as true freshmen. So if you just kind of hang around and hit your stride at the right time, like, I believe that regardless of how non-conference goes, if you finish 500 in the Big 12 play, you'll be able to make the tournament.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. I've really liked what I've seen from Micah Robinson this season. He's looked really good. He had 9 points, 2 rebounds, and a pair of steals off the bench against Michigan. And honestly, Michigan is looks like a better team than they were last season.
100%.
It helps when you get a good coach.
It does. It does when
he brought in
you bring in a
stud,
coach. Too. Yeah, you bring in a coach that's taken, took FAU to the Final Four. It definitely helps. And yeah, they looked much better. I wasn't sure what I was expecting from Michigan coming into this game, but they played pretty good, and hats off to them. Despite turning the ball over as much as they did a really good job on defense. Especially in that, I think it was the first half where, or maybe I don't remember what it was, but they definitely did a really good job there for sure.
1 point on the Big 12 schedule. if the same, if we get the college football playoff committee picking the tournament, TCU's going to rack up some good quality losses.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
loss.
And those matter a lot more than wins sometimes, it seems.
Yeah. You have a quality loss to Michigan, so
We
that'll
do.
help you
Yeah,
out.
it's a very quality loss. That's a quad 1 loss right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we go into Selection Sunday and we're like 10 and 24, we're like, look at our 24 quality losses though.
No, I mean that's like it's a legitimate point. You know what I mean? Like, yes, like this
Well,
Big 12 schedule is gonna help you regardless.
if they go 7, how many conference games are they playing now? 14?
I think we played 20.
20. Okay. If they go 8 and 12 in conference, depending on who those wins are against and who those losses are against, that might be good enough.
It's a possibility for sure. I think there could legitimately be 10 Big 12 teams in the NCAA tournament this year, which is crazy. But with how they performed so far in the non-con and how they've been preseason ranked, like it's pretty clear that the Big 12 is still the top basketball conference. I guess them or that SEC, but in terms of depth, like every game is going to be tough.
Let's claim best basketball conference because the SEC has everything else, so they can't get this one.
I agree.
Yeah. They got everything else. We'll take best basketball conference for
Basketball
sure.
and wrestling for sure. Here we go. Let's go.
Yes.
Hey, women's basketball too.
Oh, good point.
Or I guess basketball counts for both. There.
Yeah. Yeah. Kansas has looked really good. They've had a good start to this season for sure. We've got Iowa State at number 7, Houston at 8, Arizona at 9, Baylor 12. So what is that? 5 teams.
Where's UConn? They're going to be in this conference soon.
UConn's at 3 right now. They got Bama at 2. That's
know.
interesting.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. I mean, imagine adding
they're gonna
UConn.
drop.
Imagine adding
I'd
UConn
be
though,
for
to
it.
this conference. That'd be awesome.
I've
Let's
been banging
just-
the drum for basketball only Gonzaga and St. Mary's, but I know Gonzaga's Pac-12 now, so I guess that dream's dead.
Well, Nick, I have this theory that Brett Yormark is like he's trying to build like this basketball super conference that's so awesome that whenever the Big Ten and SEC ultimately, like, probably this is definitely going to happen, decide to split off in football and do their own thing, that they'll have no choice but to bring us along because our basketball is so awesome.
I agree. And I think that's the right pivot on Yormark. Like, at this point, you know you're not going to compete with the Big Ten and SEC in football. You might as well be like, okay, we're just going to dominate basketball. And that's why I'm in favor of, at this point, just adding the best basketball only teams that you can get. Like, I wanted that UConn, I wanted Gonzaga, and so I think it'd be awesome because when conference play starts in Big 12 basketball, it's pretty electric and it's tough to compete with.
I know you wanted to just say St. Mary's right there after you said
I'd be down for St. Mary's for sure. I mean,
3 straight 5 seeds.
The thing is with St. Mary's is you kind of like their shine is a little less without Gonzaga as a package deal, I'd say. And that's not a slight to St. Mary's. It's just that like them playing each other is pretty big.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sucks. Why are we going to the Pac? Gonzaga going to the Pac-12? I know it makes more sense geographically. It's dumb. It's dumb. I'm sorry. You're gonna play San Jose State every year. Nuh-uh. That's gonna get you nothing. That's no better than playing San Diego. So come play Baylor every year.
Yeah, they
come
just
down to
whooped on
Waco.
Baylor too, so they can obviously compete with them.
I know. Earn some respect. Get out of the Cupcake Conference. Come here, battle yourself, and win a natty. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm for it.
You want to prove the doubters wrong? Come to the Big 12. How funny would that be though? Like just having St. Mary's like in the Bay Area. It's like the only team that's out there in the Big 12. That would be
my dream. At this point, geographically, it doesn't matter at all. So I mean,
I mean, you got Utah and BYU. You got Utah and BYU. I mean, it's close enough that you might as well.
God,
I mean,
I wish they had
you got
any kind of
Cal.
budget.
Yeah, you got Cal and Stanford in the ACC. You might as well just.
Just throw them in
You
there.
might as well.
I
Yeah.
If SMU can be competing for an ACC title, then St. Mary's can be in the Big 12.
Hey,
Absolutely.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
This is our official petition to bring St. Mary's to the Big 12.
I'm for
Um,
everything.
we'll see. We'll see. Just wanted to, talk one last thing though about men's basketball. I really do think this team will be fine. I don't think there's a reason to hit the panic button. Nick, you mentioned earlier, the playmaking with Frankie Collins is and then this backcourt is much better than what we've seen in years past. And I totally agree. I think I've really liked what I've seen from Frankie Collins this season. I've said that time and time again. I think he's much better as a playmaker than what we've had, and I think this team will be okay. Um, you know, Obviously there are some concerns with the free throw shooting and just more consistency in the half court offense, but um, this still is one of the fastest teams in the country. They're going to probably lead the country in fast break points again. So you just, there are some things that you can take moving forward. And as these young players, like David Punch and Micah Robinson, they're going to keep getting more and more experience, get more and more games under their belt. That's only going to help them. And I think this team can make a strong run as we get to the Big 12.
Yeah, no,
You
I
guys have
think it's
any
important.
last thoughts? Go ahead.
I think it's important to remember to like remind yourself what expectations are for this team. Like they lost so many players from last year, and I think it's tough because like Dixon did it to himself when he's raised expectations and raised the goalposts of or moved the goalposts of what success is for TCU basketball. Because prior to 21, it was what they made one tournament in 30 years, and now they expect to go to the tournament every year. The first time program history making it 3 years in a row. So it's an exciting time to just have these conversations about expectations to make the tournament, all that kind of stuff. And even coming into this year with such a brand new team and the youngest team TCU's seen in a while, like nobody has them projected to make the tournament at this point of the year. And I think I'm higher, maybe just covering them, but on them than the majority of people. So I think it's important to realize what success would be. And I personally believe, like at some point, yes, the goalpost has to be moved. But if you make the tournament this year and retain some of the young players you have, then you can start building into second weekend next year and stuff like that, which would be fine with me. I know some TCU fans are ready to take that next step and not have that first weekend exit. But these next couple weeks are going to be massive in how the season shakes out. They have a feast. Their feast week is is the Acrisure Classic in Palm Springs. I'm going to be there during Thanksgiving week. They play Santa Clara and they play the winner of Washington and Colorado State. So those are teams that are quality teams, but you should also beat if you want to make the case for the tournament. So they play Alcorn State Tuesday, which should be a beatdown, and then once you get to that feast week is when you really can start to make real expectations for what this team has. Once you have a month under your belt and maybe some quality wins over some good opponents.
Yeah, those are great points, and very very intrigued to see how this TCU men's basketball team can uh, shake off this loss against Michigan and move forward and see how they do to close out this month. And that's pretty cool that you're going to be there. That should be fun.
Yeah, I I hate to bring it back to St. Mary's again, but St. Mary's is also in the tournament, so me and my dad are going
Oh,
out there to watch them for Thanksgiving week, which should be fun.
nice. That's awesome. Very cool. Well, that'll wrap things up here for this episode of Believe in TCU. Nick, thanks again for joining us to talk college hoops.
Yeah,
Seth and I, we watch the games and we follow, we bring the vibes, but Nick, you just bring another level of analysis and,
I
because
appreciate it.
you live and breathe TCU hoops. And so
I do.
it's, it's very fun to talk about college basketball with you, and hopefully we can have you on a couple more times as the season goes on.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for having me on again. This is the first pod appearance I've done that's not mine, so this is cool for me to talk hoops. And yeah, anytime you guys want to have me on, just let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to go ahead and shout out your socials and your show and where
Yeah,
you can watch Frog Fever.
I love to. Yeah, so I'm writing stuff on killerfrogs.com, TCU Horn Frogs and SI. My Twitter account is at Girimonte Nicky, which is at GirimonteNicky. That's where I'm posting a lot of social media stuff, all my articles and stuff there. And then the Frog Fever podcast, you can just look up Frog Fever wherever you get your podcast. It's a weekly TCU basketball show. Yeah, just cool podcast there. It's just been fun covering this team. So yeah, just find my stuff there.
Yeah, definitely go check it out. But yeah, that'll wrap things up here for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. You can follow us on Instagram at Believe in TCU. Subscribe to our YouTube page or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all at Believe in TCU. So for Seth Dowdle and Nick Girimonte, I'm Zion Trammell. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time. And as always, go Frogs.